What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the Bianconeri zone, and welcome back to a new daily news show. And there's no transfer talk, or I'm not gonna do that actually in this video. I will do that in the next live in a couple of hours because I want to focus on Motta uncharacteristically doing something he hasn't done in months, basically. For the first time, calling out his players, literally calling out his attackers in this case, saying that they're not doing enough and they should be doing enough, and he's expecting more from him. And he added even Colomani, who will be with us in the Champions, excuse me, in the Serie A, and he is gonna need to do enough because what they showed against Bruges was not good enough. And this is actually the first time he called out his players. And the moment he did that, reporters on Sky Italia called Motta out as well for calling out his attackers. And I can see the point on both sides. So that's what we're going to talk about because I think it is something to discuss. But before we do that, as always, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's talk about, well, something completely new and we haven't seen so far from Thiago Motta. Okay, so for the first time this season, Motta came out and targeted a group of players, not a single player, a group of players. So what he said is that we did the right things up to a certain point, which we discuss and we talk about every single week on this channel. He said, but in the final third, we could have moved the ball better, utilizing all the attackers on the field. Mbangula gave us something extra, but I expect more from the other 5 attackers, and he added Colomani in as well. Now, a few things to unpack. Excuse me. One is the Mbangula one. In the second half, he was getting at his players and he was beating his players. Why do you sub him off? If you come out and you say that he gave you something extra, then why did you sub him off? Like it makes no sense. It really makes no sense because he's not going to start on the weekend against Napoli. Just let him play out the game then. If you think he's giving you something extra, why would you make that sub? He's contradicting himself in this case. Like if you have a player out there and you're like, he's the only difference maker today, you're not going to sub him off. So that's the first part that it's really, really weird. The other part is right. We need to move the ball better. It needs to, it needs to be moved faster. But we've been saying that for weeks. And you can look at your attackers being Motta, but that's on you as well. If it's stale for weeks, then that's because they don't know what to do with the ball. And you're actually hoping, or actually you're telling them now, individually make the difference, which I could agree on to a certain point because individually they didn't do enough. Weah didn't do enough on the wing and he will never do enough. Conceição was not effective in my opinion when he came on besides that cross, and Yildiz one was non-existent when he came on, as well. Vlahovic was horrible when he came on. Everything bounced off his foot. So I agree in that aspect that it needs to be more, 100%. However, at one point, you also need to be honest with yourself and like, it's me. It's actually me who needs to be better, because these players go out there and they're just doing what you ask them to do. The movement they make is what they do in training. They don't go out there and decide to play it slow, to have no movement, to keep the ball way too long, to lay it off to absolutely nobody. That's coaching. That's what gets drilled into it, And yes, individually, it was poor, in my opinion, as well. But as a group, up front, we've discussed it for ages that there's nothing in the final third. It's a wrong decision. They get stuck. They don't know what to do, and so on, so on. And the moment he said that, Bojan came out, ex-Milan legend, or Milan legend, and he said the same thing. He said that what Motta said is actually not okay. Because you're saying that the players are not good enough, he basically said. However, they don't know what to do up front. They have no idea what to do up front. That's what they know. That's the only thing they know. Trying to do individual. And if you all try to do individual stuff, it will look like that. it won't look not in sync. He said there's no movement, he said, and that's a valid point towards Motta. You can call out your attackers having individually poor and need to do more. However, as a coach, you also need to do more because this is not a one-off. This is not, oh my God, they all had a stinky game. This is a team that comes up and up again because he admitted, he said in the final third, we need to move the ball faster. We make the wrong decisions. We're slow in the final third. We become predictable, and it's very, very, very easy to defend, especially against a low block if you don't move that ball that fast. So it's cool to call out your attackers, but in this case, you need to look at yourself. You need to look at yourself because the Mbangula one is a weird one. If you think he's the difference maker, if you think he's having something extra, then why sub him off? It makes absolutely no sense. And besides that, he subbed them off, and I'm like, Nico Gonzalez is playing horrible. He missed an absolute sitter. Why do you not sub him off, first? And you move in Yildiz. I don't know if you move in Vlahovic first. Like, do that. In midfield as well, like a player like Thuram was needed in that game more, sooner. So the subs are not having an impact. The subs are weird, and it's getting a bit weirder and weirder. They don't have an impact, but the moment he makes a sub, I think a lot of us are sitting there and like, why? Really? At this moment in time? That makes no sense. McKennie comes on too late. I don't know the fitness level of them, but Thuram is probably fit, So it's something. It's something because he called out his attackers and maybe wants to put him on high alert. However, you calling them out in the media is not going to make them click next week. It's going to need your input as well to make that click. It's not just going to be these players reading that, saying, oh, snap, the coach is not happy with us. We're going to do our thing right now, from now on until the end of the season. No, because there is no movement and we cannot break down a low block. If there is some movement, we can make it work. However, there's no consistency in it. There's no patterns of real play. There's not enough movement. That's the biggest thing. There's not enough movement at all. Like, absolutely at all, which also makes it extremely difficult for a player like Locatelli and a player like Douglas Luiz, who people are like, oh, you keep it safe. It's difficult if there is no movement. If you're just playing with your back towards goal, close to a defender, the only thing you can do being a midfielder is play that easy pass. If there's no overlap, if there's nobody creating room, it's extremely difficult and you're going to lose a lot of balls. It's going to look ugly, which it did. So cool, you call out the attackers. It needs to be better. However, you also called yourself on two things. Moving the ball faster, that comes from coaching. And then Bangula one, that's on you. You sub them off, not we. You make that decision, not we. So an interesting one, but I think it's the first time you actually called out these players. So let me know in the comments what you think. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you later tonight for a transfer update. Ciao.